Welcome back to DONSLIFE, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to look at the second screen offering from Z Innovations. That's right, they have two screen upgrade options for your Chevy Silverado or your GMC Sierra truck, 2019 or newer, non-refresh models. So you have to have that really outdated 7 or 8 inch screen that came with a lot of these trucks. You have to have that to replace to this. Now, I've already installed and spent some time with Z Innovations 13.1 inch screen, but today we're going to install the 12.3 inch. I know it doesn't sound like that much of a difference in size, but trust me, they're different, but same.
Same, but different.
Either way, let's go. So before we connect the screen, I just want to lend some advice. If this is the first time you see me install any of Z Innovations products, please go watch the original video. I'll link it here. It'll be linked in the video description below as well. But that will show the full install in a high level of detail, right up until getting the screen working, including using the screen somewhat so you can get a sense of how it works and its functionality. Today's video, all we need to do is just swap out this screen with the one that's in there. So that is a really cool feature. The fact that you could buy whatever setup you want in the beginning, and then down the road, if your needs change, or maybe your needs are different from time to time, depending on what you're doing, you can switch from one screen to the other without repurchasing or installing all the extras. So what are all those extras? Well, these are your vent relocators, because to go with a wider screen in these trucks and keep all your climate controls, you have to relocate the vents. There's no way around it, at least not to make the install solid and secure. And I think solid and secure and a high level of functionality and reliability are what people are looking for. But underneath this, you have all of your cables and your accessories. So these are detailed in my installation video, but it's going to be all the same stuff in this bag as it was in the first video. But I do want to point something out when it comes to the body that you're going to mount the screen to. So just take a close look at that. Imagine how easy that would be to wrap or paint or hydro dip, just to give it a nice color change or a pattern or whatever aesthetic you're looking for. I can tell you right now, with my wrapping skills, you can see all the rolls over there and all the wrap projects I've done on the channel, truck included, Corvette C8 included over there, and a lot of vehicles before that. We could wrap this and it wouldn't be that difficult. The fact that where the vents end and begin, they got a nice hard edge on the inside there, so we can do trimming for the vinyl wrap. It would be perfect. These can be unscrewed and pulled out, making it very easy if you were to hydro dip it. If you're familiar with that, that's where they put a film on top of water and then they dip it in the water and they pull it out and it's got a new pattern on it. If I can find some footage online, I'll overlay it here so you know what the heck I'm talking about. Again, you get to keep all of your climate controls, heated seats, cooled seats, all your switches here and plugs, knobs for your temperatures, you know the drill. So you get to keep all of that. With the vents themselves, you're going to get all the airflow we originally got, but it's restricted a little bit here, which is going to make the outer vents pump a little harder. We're talking like a 10% differential, so I don't think you'd really notice it. There is a little difference. But all in all, this piece here, which again, is already installed in my truck from the previous video. So again, go watch that if you have all types of questions on how does this fit, Don? Well, we cover that in length, but you can see here that your screen just clips in and out. And then there's a dressing piece that goes here that's actually silver when they ship it to you. I'm probably going to wrap mine or paint it black, but right now it's silver in there and you don't see it because it's behind the screen. But I think once we put the new screen on here, it will show a little bit of that dressing piece. So that's just a clip to kind of hide where your screws go in. It can be painted or you can change the color, so not really that big of a deal. I give the feedback though that we should look at making them the same color as this. Again, not a deal breaker, minor, but I thought I'd point it out because questions might come up. So a couple things before we hop in the truck and install the screen. The GPS hookup right here. This does come with a GPS antenna. You can put it in your A-pillar, somewhere up on the dash, just somewhere where it can kind of see outside the vehicle and get a signal. Or you can tap into your shark fin on the truck through this connector here. Now in my video for the install for the other size, I had ordered a pigtail adapter to go to here, and then I had a couple wires that I listed that I had bought on Amazon to split the factory GPS signal to share with this screen, as well as work with the factory navigation and compass system. Now that being said, Z Innovations is working working on an adapter solution for you as an option that you could look at getting with your screen should you choose to pick one out. The other thing is they are close to having some sort of screen protector available for each of the sizes of screen. So that option will be something that should come up fairly soon. But without further ado, let's get this thing installed and take a closer look at it. Now, before I just swap the screens and go with the wide aspect ratio, I think it's important that we see how everything is presented on this screen one more time, the 13.1 inch. We have an 11-inch diagonal area that contains all of our factory user interface items, including the cameras, including all of our audio links, including really everything, our trailering apps. It's all here, you don't lose anything. When I put it in reverse, it automatically switches the cameras. I've given demonstrations in split screen where you can have all of this on one side. Why don't I show you that split screen demo? Because it'll be important for this video. So let's say I want to split screen the factory display with maps. You can see it's squished a little bit. It's usable, but it's squished a little. And that's because it's trying to fit the whole screen and divide the two apps. So we've talked about this. This is what's going to happen, but you can still see everything and it works just fine. It's just, that's why it's squished a little bit. Once we install this one, that will be gone because the aspect ratio for this screen will have the proper aspect ratio for whatever we're trying to show. So let's leave there. Let's go back to our home screen. So this presentation with all these widgets is actually a launcher called the Vivid Car Launcher. It's a pretty popular one, and you can make all of these widgets interact to whatever you assign them to. In this case, here's maps, and we can use it that way. You can also go back. Here I am again. Click this button, takes me back to our home screen, to all of our factory apps. Go back to the Android screen. This is my launcher, like I was saying. I can pin different shortcuts here for frequently used apps, maybe YouTube as a good example. So back here we can click on our all apps icon, and again we have everything at our disposal, as well as we can customize it. I changed the background to my truck from a couple of years ago before it was wrapped and I had some Raptor lights in my grill. So that's what's set up right there. And then we have all the apps that we're used to seeing. Play video games with that one. We got my switch panel for my aux beam switches here. We've got a lot. We got Apple Music. And of course you have CarPlay and all that stuff, which we're going to get into this on the new screen. So I just wanted to show you this so you can get a sense of what the display is going to look like and how it's going to change when I switch to the other screen. Now I'm just going to carefully pop up each side here, and that'll allow me to release the screen. You can see just like this right here. And I just have to transfer all of these plugs and harnesses into the back of the new screen. So I don't have a lot of slack on the cables. I'm just going to put this back carefully, and I'm going to get a cloth to lay down here, probably tape it on just so I don't scratch anything. I think I have a better idea. Put this cardboard box to act as a bit of a tray or a table while I work with this screen here. Now, with the exception of the GPS cable and the 4G antenna cable, which have the same tips, but they look very different, you can't really get these mixed up. So I'm just going to start unplugging and undoing, and then we're going to transfer everything to the new screen. This harness I didn't use yet for anything, just for some optional stuff. Just going to lay them in order for reconnection. Make it easy on myself. Notice I haven't had to use any tools, but you might want to make sure you have a little bit of a fingernail to push some of these tabs in. And then here's your power cable for the screen. Look how quick we did that. Now for the new one, I'll move the box so you can see a little better, but we just have to hook everything up. So I'm going to plug in this harness that I'm not using, just so I know where it is at all times. And I'm just going to start to plug everything back in. Now, with any luck, you clip it in. Pinch the tape in there a little bit. There we go. Now for the part you've all been waiting for. And of course there's another one, because why not have two? And there's a third, I'm just kidding, there's only two. Okay, let's turn on the ignition. Notice there was a car image there. That's because my hood's open. So it'll tell you if the hood's open. So that's good. So we can already see it's a little different. We have our touch volume controls on the left here, and we have some extra buttons for our track adjustments and that type of thing, because on the original setup, you have all of these controls right in this middle area here where these vents are now located, because this now takes the spot that the vents would have been occupying on the sides. Interesting to see this already. Of course, everything works like it should from factory, so I'm not concerned about any of that at all. But I don't have a launcher installed on here or anything, so when I go to the Android screen, it'll just go to whatever launcher is already preloaded. I see the one on here looks very much like my BMW M4 that I used to have. So that's giving me that kind of impression right now. But we can change all of this. So if this isn't your cup of tea right off the bat, that's all customizable. Don't worry about that. Click here, we can go to our apps. But before I go any further, I'm going to perform an update, because if you're wondering about support from Z Innovations, they are already answering a ton of questions that are coming up in the videos that I've made for their product. So it's nice to see that engagement. They have a dedicated Facebook page to these products. They also have a regular Facebook presence. They have an Instagram presence. They are easy to get a hold of if you need any type of support, including updates, which they'll share with anyone that purchases these screens by sending them the files to a Google Drive so you can download them and perform your updates. So before I go any further, I'm going to perform an update. Now my USB connections to this device I routed through the glove box. That's in the installation video, so let me just connect this. Okay, we're connected. External storage devices are being installed, so that should be done. Now we have to find our file manager. Sure, I'll find it somewhere. Just gotta learn to read. There it is, it's on the first page. And then I wanna go to the USB drive, which is here. I put it in this update folder here, so let's go in there. Now we should just be able to install one of these at a time. Just tap it, install, done. Pick this one. And I should be able to swipe down and reboot. While we're here, if you swipe down again, you can adjust your brightness. So in case people are wondering about that, plus it'll adjust its brightness on its own, depending on the ambient light sensor your truck's equipped with. So daytime, it'll get a little brighter, and nighttime, it'll dim a little bit. But let's reboot this for the updates. Okay, so we are rebooted. Let's test our audio just to make sure everything's okay. I did not pick that song, that just happens to be what it's on. Does that work? Steering wheel controls work. That's great. Let's go back to my youth. So that's good. Remember, this uses an auxiliary connection, so it's an analog connection, but it will save you from the horrendous delay that Bluetooth can offer. When you think about phone connections, we don't have to worry, my phone is still connected. You're probably asking yourself, what sorcery is this? There's no magic at play here. Remember, this is using the factory Bluetooth with whatever I connect to it. So if I want to use my phone to make phone calls, my steering wheel controls and all of that, that's all kept in place because we use auxiliary as the input for any of the media that's on this screen. It's going to feed through the factory auxiliary system, and then it'll play through our Bose system or whatever speaker setup that you have without the delay of Bluetooth. Okay, let's try wired CarPlay. The reason I say wired is because I've been using my hotspot on my phone the whole time. And for those of you that know how a lot of these aftermarket screens work, if you are going to use your hotspot or a data plan with your aftermarket screen, and you're going to use wireless CarPlay, which this does wireless CarPlay, no problem at all, it can interfere with the data plan that would be on your phone or on your OnStar system as an example. but if you were to get a SIM card dedicated to the screen, you could use wireless CarPlay without that issue. And that's why I wanted to try wired CarPlay, so I could show you what it's going to look like on the screen here. So whether it's wired or wireless, it'll look the same. And you can also set up this app here to auto connect or have it work by pushing the button. We'll push the button and we'll watch it connect. Now it says here, do not connect to Bluetooth while using CarPlay. So here's what CarPlay looks like connected to your iPhone. We don't have to have it in split screen mode, but we can. And then we can do things like maps. Maps and navigation is kind of nice and be nice and widescreen. Apple Music looks like this. So there's some CarPlay functionality for you. If we want to leave, we can swipe down and go back, or we can just hit back on that icon there. Now remember, we have way more user interfaces here. Let's try a different launcher, see what that looks like. There's another one for you. Let's try 7. Let's try 8. Try 13. 14. I'm going to download the Vivid Car Launcher so I can see what that looks like on this screen. All right, it is the next day. I've downloaded the Vivid Car Launcher. I really like how it looks on this screen. I can go back to my original car user interface here. We've gone through this. I don't need to go over it again, but I will give you some footage outside with us driving, just in some real world scenarios where we can have this with our cameras available and something else on the side. You do have the ability to put whatever you want as long as it's split screen compatible on either side. So as long as it has this icon here, it's split screen compatible. If you want something on the left, then you got to click it first. So let's say I want Amazon Prime on the left, click that. And let's say I want my factory system on the right, then I click that and it's on the right. So very easy to have it the other way around if you want. Just whatever you pick first goes left. And of course we can just play something. Remember, we're using the auxiliary connection, so our audio is not delayed as much as it would be with Bluetooth.
If I paid in US, what is that? 50 million? $50 million. I know when they had...
If I want to watch it all on the big screen, swipe to the right. So it doesn't occupy the whole screen because of the aspect ratio, but it's still quite a bit bigger than it would have been on a small 7 or 8 inch screen, but it's not quite as big as the 13.1 inch, which is a little taller than the screen right here. But all in all, looks pretty good and sounds great.
Kilograms of silver and $50 million.
Easy to get out of here, swipe down and go back. Again, you can control your volume from here. So whatever level it's currently at, this will just bring it down from whatever current level it's at, because your main volume controls on your steering wheel or for the screen itself are using the factory volume controls. This is just a downward adjustment from whatever that is currently set at. So you have some control volume wise, other than the factory integration that this can still use. YouTube looks really good in here. Definitely check out this video if you want to see a little bit of what DONSLIFE and Mrs. DONSLIFE do in their downtime when we want to treat ourselves. So this was a nice experience, but the intro to this video was really cool. But what I'm trying to say is it looks good in here on this new screen. Let's just check out a couple seconds. So fun little video, but I just wanted to show you how well this works. Again, we can split screen with YouTube. Let's go back to our factory stuff. I clicked that first, it went to the left. Watch YouTube on the right. And then it'll resize itself properly. We can watch it, hit full screen if we want, crank the volume. It's a fun little setup. So I'm going to take this outside, show you a little bit what the camera is, and then we'll wrap up this video because I'm going to need more time to play with this thing and get my final impressions. Google Maps through CarPlay looks great. If you're a big CarPlay fan, the interface looks really good in this wide aspect ratio. Can't complain there. Now I couldn't get CarPlay to work with split screen. I tried, but if we do our factory interface on this side, just let it pop up here. And then if I pick CarPlay, it doesn't work. Maybe that's a limitation, I don't know. I thought maybe it would, so I thought I'd try it, but not all apps are going to be compatible with split screen. Here's an example of Google Maps as the app on the actual screen, split screen with one of my YouTube videos playing. Now let's see what happens when we go in reverse. It changes one of the screens to the camera, so that's kind of cool. I didn't lose view of this, but I ended up getting that. Put it back in drive, and now it's back to maps. That's really cool. I like that. So one last demonstration for you here, and then we'll wrap this up. So I'm going to turn up the volume because I want you to hear something. When I go to back up and put it in reverse, it auto mutes the music as well, which is a nice feature, which we're pretty used to at the factory. So I made it nice and quiet. Now I'm going to put it in park. All right, she's all mounted up. I think it looks cool. So nice to know all your factory features are retained because we're using auxiliary input. So I think that's going to be important to some people. That's not a dead guy. It is Halloween. Mrs. DONSLIFE's got her Halloween set up there. So after the outro, I'll give you a little bit of a tour, also when it's dark out, and show you what that looks like. She's really proud of it. So I'm going to continue using this screen for a while longer, and then I'll give you my opinion when it comes to both of these screens and their user experience. And from a user experience standpoint, these innovation screens have not disappointed. I know there's another screen on the market that I reviewed early on back in the summer, and I'll also continue to give my opinion on that one as I continue to work through testing all these various screens. If you can't wait and you just need to get your hands on something, definitely check out Z Innovation's website. They've got a ton of information there, especially when it comes to the specs, which I didn't cover in today's video. Remember, you can always watch a thorough installation video on my first review, which is going to be linked in the video description below. But on that note, if you like today's video, hit that like button, please consider subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time. Trick or treat.
You scared me.